Hey guys, welcome to this Euro Under-21 final preview. Spain made it all the way as expected, and so did Germany. So it looks like we've got the final that everyone basically expected. It's the two, these two nations that have started producing so much young talent. They can fill several squads, now they face each other. So what can we expect first of all from the German side? Because you've seen more than me.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Tichy for the semi-final against England, and while that was probably what English fans expected, the result of that, the penalties, but it definitely showed that this Germany side, they could be got at, although they're comfortable on the ball, and they've got a lot of options going forward, they've got a lot of creative players. It did show that they're definitely not infallible by any stretch of the imagination, and with the players and the riches that Spain have got to create, I mean, England, they had nothing anywhere near the same kind of arsenal that Spain have got, and they still managed to score twice in the first 20 minutes. Germany were a little bit slow, and England could have maybe even gone a couple of goals ahead. Right. Set pieces were a big thing. James Ward-Prowse, he was causing all kinds of problems. There's not a great deal of height in the Germany side. And although Spain, I don't think they'll be able to exploit it as much as England did, I still think that could be something that Celades has looked at and thought, well, Vallejo, Mede, they like to get in the box, they like to challenge.
They've got decent height. Maybe they play Diego Gonzalez. We've seen him around the hotel, he's like about 7 foot or something.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing that could be quite interesting, it was something that only has happened now in that semi-final against England. Because it went to extra time, they're allowed that full substitute. So maybe managers can afford to make those little tactical tweaks that are maybe a little bit more, I don't know, trivial than normal, because you just want to freshen things up. There's the possibility that the likes of Diego Gonzalez might even get, I would say it's extremely unlikely this is an injury, but you never know. You could always see a Netherlands-esque, not exactly cruel going in goal for penalties, but Diego coming on for a corner, maybe not. But yeah, in general, I would say that Germany, I would think they're more of an attacking force than Italy were. I mean, Berardi being out was a big thing, but also just the fact they've got Max Meyer, Selke, who's a bit of a doubt. But
I was going to say, they play a bit more quicker, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, they also have Gnabry, he looks quite bright. Maximilian Philipp, who's been picked up by Dortmund this summer, he's been good. And then you've got Arnold at the base of the midfield controlling it all, and I think the fact that he's been doing so well, and Herrera played alongside him in the semi-final, they kept Mahmoud Dahoud completely out of the side. Right, and obviously he's been another player that's going to Dortmund for the next season. Yeah, it's interesting that Dahoud hasn't really, been part of this squad. Yeah, I mean, I think it really says more about the depth than it does about Dahoud's ability. Amiri, he came off the bench against England, he looked very bright. Yeah, he did. And I think they've got a lot of players that can make a difference off the bench. They've got quite a deep squad, not quite as deep as Spain's, but I still think there's a lot there for Spain to be worried about. And I think the fact that Kunz has kind of suggested that this team, that there's been almost talk that they might even be prepared to play a little bit dirty, and maybe that shows that they recognise this Spain team are very, very good. Yeah. And while they enjoy having a lot of the ball, maybe this could be a game where they're prepared to change their approach slightly.
Interesting, because I don't want Spain to get to a point where they join in with that dirty sort of play. I think they've got to retain focus. Because I think if teams come at them in terms of trying to foul them and trying to disrupt their play, we saw it with Ceballos, didn't we? Like he got fouled a few times in some games. So hopefully they don't get involved in that, get drawn into it, and they focus on their football. But I do generally see the teams potentially cancelling each other out, like that first half against Italy, because they both have similar styles. Germany like to play out the back. Yeah. Spain, as we know, with Llorente and Vallejo.
A lot with wing backs as well. Yeah. I mean, Toljan was really important in the semi-final, and Gerhard is also quite good on the other side. So I think the fact that you've got Johnny and Bellerin needing to get forward to support the attack, I'm sure that Celades it's been a big thing with between Johnny and Gaia, and while Johnny is more solid, it could be worth the gamble that Gaia comes on at some point during the game, just to upset the balance, maybe force Germany to hold their wing backs a little bit deeper than they would really like them to be.
It would be interesting to see who asserts their dominance first, because you've got these two similar styles. Obviously, both sides, neither side of that attitude where they will sit back and let the other one try and play. They will both try and imprint themselves on the game. So it will be a case of who gets hold of the ball initially, isn't it? It's going to be so. Looking at that, Asensio and Ceballos are going to have to get that little rhythm going between the pair, aren't there, basically?
Yeah, but I did think as well that Germany, they were really, really slow to start against England. The first 20 minutes, they were poor. Interesting. And I don't know if that was down to the fact, Kunz mentioned in a pre-match press conference that against Italy, when they lost 1-0, his players didn't really feel in danger at any point during the tournament until that goal went in, because it made it a reality that they could lose by a couple of goals,
right,
and then therefore go out on goal difference.
So maybe he was suggesting.
Well, you never know. I mean, it would suggest that the team maybe does quite a bit of thinking about certain things. If Kunz thinks that the fact that the fragile position that they were in maybe had an effect on that Italy game. And especially the fact that it did take them that 20 minutes to get into it against England, you wonder, is that just their nerves, and then once it got out of their system they were fine? So obviously this is a bigger occasion, they're against a better team, so they can't afford to come out and be slow and be poor for the first 20 minutes, because while England couldn't penalise them for being slow at the start, Spain most definitely can. And I think if Spain go 2-0 up, it's probably over. I mean, while Spain they're not, I don't see them keeping a clean sheet tonight, but I do think that if Germany go 2-0 down and they have to start looking forward and throwing players forward and taking more risks, which is something that they tend to do, especially in midfield, Spain can hit them on the break, and they've been doing it all tournament against teams that have been much poorer than Germany, on an equal footing with Germany, and it's definitely, you don't want the likes of Marcus Asensio, you don't want the likes of Denis Ceballos being able to drive and get in behind your midfield line.
I think they'll thrive, you know, if they have to play on the counter. I think Spain really like playing on the counter attack, because you know, because obviously everybody sees them as this possession-based team, but as we've seen, it is, and as we've seen, I mean, especially against Portugal, Portugal really came back into that game. Neves was in control, you know, but when the ball was getting repelled out, Spain were attacking with a lot of speed, and you know, Sandro, you know, was operating well on the counter. He's used to it because at Malaga he was always on the counter, wasn't he? So that's interesting there. And then there's an Iñaki Williams factor as well. You know, you could bring him up. And definitely. Another player, I guess it brings us to it, counter attack, Deulofeu. Spoke in the press conference yesterday. I thought he was excellent. It backed up everything I think about Deulofeu. I think he's matured as a person, as a player, off the field. He's a lot more calmer, he's a lot more calculated. You can see he's taken the leadership role really, really well. But
on the basis of his performances, he shouldn't be in the team. Actual
performances, what is he doing in games? He looks like the lost boy out there, doesn't he? He's I made a joke to you, but maybe it was quite serious. I felt like he was almost in the way of Ceballos and Asensio at times. Kind of like they were kind of like, right, okay, this is my team now. And then Deulofeu was just on the side, and he kept giving the ball away. He ran into his trademark blind alleys.
It's definitely a Captain Phillips moment when it's I am captain now, definitely.
It really is.
But I do think that there have been times where I've been watching and thinking that maybe, you know, Spain's midfield are deliberately ignoring Deulofeu a little bit. When he's been in plenty of space, they might have turned back inside a little more often than they would like to, and I don't know whether that shows maybe a little bit of a lack of trust in him. But he's definitely not backed up the fact that he's got this captaincy. He's been good in terms of what he's been saying, but in terms of the whole talking on the pitch cliche, he's not done it yet.
He really
but the thing is that tonight it's going to be his last Under-21 game. There's a lot of history behind what he's been doing.
So record goal scorer with the Spain Under-21s and record appearance holder as well. Tonight is his farewell. He can't play at Under-21 level forever, even though I'm sure he would love to be playing in 2030 in the Under-21s. He cannot. Tonight needs to be a big performance from Deulofeu to say goodbye.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something which kind of highlights the fact that he maybe isn't doing as well as he would have liked. He's kind of said in the press conference yesterday that he does other things to help the team, whereas I think that when you've got a player like Deulofeu, the rest of the team should be doing the job, and you're almost the maverick element in the attack who looks to make something out of nothing. And I just wonder, when Deulofeu isn't the player that you look to make something out of nothing, then why is he in the team?
It's funny how his role's diminished, because he's gone through the age categories, Deulofeu, and he's always been that person who can change a game. And he really has, because I think at Under-17, Under-19 level, his attributes are essential. You know, he does look explosive, he does look like a better player than everybody else, but now he's come to Under-21 level, he's just not looking up to scratch. And then when players, guys like Asensio are coming into the team, you know, and starting to do things, and Deulofeu is looking like that. He looks like he's a player who hasn't made the grade, basically. It's worrying.
I mean, I really do hope that he does put in a really good performance tonight, and he proves any doubters wrong, that he ends his Under-21 era in the right way. But if he doesn't, I can really see Iñaki Williams being the first substitute off that bench after an hour or so.
I think Salades has to do it, you know. Like the team is going to be the same. The starting team is going to be the A team who played against Italy and who played against Portugal. Deulofeu will play. He's been the worst player out of that starting 11 by far, but he will play. So it comes down to then, Salades does have the balls basically to take him off, doesn't he?
I think he's already shown. I think if he was frightened to, he wouldn't have taken off Deulofeu during other games. I very much think that the captain's armband in this team isn't really necessary. I don't think anyone necessarily needs to wear it. He's done the job of talking like a captain off the pitch, but on it, I think there's a lot of players that can step up, a lot of players that will lead by example. You've got a lot of people who aren't wearing that band who offer, you know, captain-like attributes.
Right.
I mean, you've got Jesus Vallejo leading at the back. Kepa, I think he's been good with his communication. And in midfield, yeah, you've got Saul.
Like he is the Saul is the vice captain, but you get the sense he's maybe become the de facto captain in a sense. He's quite a big presence. He's quite loud and leery. And watching him in the rondos yesterday, and again he's a big presence. You can clearly see he's very experienced now, despite he's still being young. I mean, the amount of minutes he played last season, it's ridiculous, and the appearances that he's had. So you know, he's really taken on that role well. There's quite a few leaders in the dressing room, as you say, which is really good at this level as well. No one is hiding, are they not? You know, like Asensio, Ceballos, you know, that they are big personalities, you know, and they're confident as well. So it's interesting to see that. Finally, I guess a prediction. We have to do a prediction, don't we?
I mean, I would say that I can't see either side keeping a clean sheet.
I agree.
But I just think that Spain can outscore this German team. If Germany start like they did and Spain go a couple of goals ahead, I could see it ending like the last couple of games have, where Spain end up, you know, well, with the A team at least, not against Serbia, but where they end up pulling away and the scoreline maybe looks a lot more comfortable than it truly was. So I would say, if I had to make a score prediction, I would say 2-1 Spain, but I wouldn't be surprised if it maybe stretched a little bit in the last half an hour of the game.
Well, I'm going for 3-1. I'm going to say that Spain take a 2-0 lead, Germany fire back, and then Spain get one late on to finish.
And it might be Deulofeu.
It might be Deulofeu. Hopefully he's off the field by then. No, hopefully Deulofeu performs tonight. Okay guys, thanks for joining us. We'll have one more video on the Under-21s, just recapping the final. But thanks for joining us as usual.